What's one fear you can't overcome no matter what? Story 1, losing people. Answer, I completely understand that fear, losing someone close to you, is one of the hardest things to even think about. It's something that's always in the back of my mind too. I try to remind myself to cherish every moment with the people I love, but it's definitely a tough fear to shake. Answer. And then you get to a point where you're so scared of losing people, you just reject people, and then all of a sudden, you don't know how to accept anyone, not even herself. Answer, especially when you start off with a very limited number. My ex walked out on me a few weeks ago and she was my only one. Now I'm living my fear, and it's the lowest I've ever felt, physically and mentally. I can have everyone, but nobody has me. I'm not good enough for someone to want. Story 2, heights. I've tried to face it hundreds of times, taking boom lifts up as high as I can, looking down out of windows, but no matter what, when I have to do it, I get the shakes at about 30. Answer, I've watched videos of cell tower climbers and my stomach still lurches. Ugh. Answer, right? Just watching those videos makes my palms sweat. I can't even imagine having the guts to do that in real life. It's like my brain knows I'm safe on the ground, but my body still goes into full panic mode. Definitely not a job I could ever handle. An answer, my wife and I took her 2 kids up in the St. Louis Arch. My stepson and I were too afraid to get out of the elevator car, and when we did, we ended up sitting on the floor so we couldn't see out. But it was a bonding moment, both of us laughing at being complete chicken shits LOL. Story 3, missing a call from an unknown number. The suspense is unbearable. They were LOL. Answer, my fear is the exact opposite. Even answering known numbers is pushing it. Answer, agree, like just text me. And after the call, I'm like, this could have just been a text. What annoys me, ESP with work, I will get a text and I can see what needs to be done. But immediately after that, I get a call to tell me what needs to be done. Story 4, snakes. I've really tried and I just can't get past it. Fuck those legless lizards. Answer, how do you feel about Nazis or things belonging in a museum? Have you ever traveled across the world while a dotted line appears on a map? Story 5, social anxiety. Answer, you got this. I never thought I'd get over my severe social phobia, diagnosed after I self-diagnosed for years, but you really can get through it. For me, meds helped, so F again much. Answer, which meds helped you? Answer, lots of trial and error, but Zoloft was a huge life changer for me. But definitely got to be willing to try and error. Everyone's different. What worked for me might not work for you. But again, be strong and willing, and medication helped fix my chemical imbalance to the point that my anxiety, especially social, used to be 12/10, and now that I'm off med and did the fuck K out of the work I know I needed to do, am without meds at a 1/10, which I thought impossible before. Story 6, flying in commercial aircraft. It doesn't matter how many statistics about the safety are shared with me. There's just an irrational fear in me of being inside a metal tube with zero control over my fate. It's made worse by several factors. I can't see the pilots and the controls that are controlling the plane in my life. The dozens of different noises and groans and shakes that everyone says are normal. The fact that survival is like 0% if your plane falls. So yeah, unless I become a professional pilot or something, I don't think anything will ever take away that fear from me. Answer, I was the same for a long time and then suddenly I wasn't. No idea what switched in my brain, but I no longer have the fear of flying. Fingers crossed the same happens to you. Don't lose hope. Answer, I was the opposite, zero fear. And then all of a sudden on one flight it just started, and now it's so bad I get the shakes and all sweaty. I will still go on because I love to travel, and it scares me thinking what if it gets worse because I won't be able to see the world. Answer, me too. I flew about 4x per year, no problem, until I started developing an irrational fear. Then I forced myself into flying to overcome my fear, and it was a bad flight. Nothing really happened except turbulence and an announcement of a maintenance delay, but I had a mini panic attack on board, and now I will never fly again. Story 7, rejection. At this point, I should be immune to it, but nope, still stings. Answer, I guess you're talking about rejection from women, but last year I finally realized I have rejection-sensitive dysphoria due to ADHD. I researched it because it was controlling my whole life and affecting literally all of my relationships. I get extreme emotional and even physical pain over rejection, even if it's just perceived rejection and not actual. I get suicidal thoughts and chest pain like I'm being punched. Being able to name it and identify it when it happens has gradually slightly lessened the pain of it over the past year. It actually happened yesterday. All those bad feelings washed over me, and then the self-harm thoughts came on. And that's when I was able to mentally break free and think, oh wait, I know this. Here they are right on schedule. And that helped me get past it a little quicker than before. I still would never rush to put myself in situations where I would get rejected. I still feel all of the turmoil and the pain even on the occasions when I'm able to stop it relatively quickly, and I don't think I will ever fully overcome it. Story 8. The fear of being alone. I can't myself being alone, especially in our house during nighttime, and every time it happens, I usually have an anxiety attack. I'm always praying that somehow I can overcome this fear and somehow enjoy it when I'm alone. Story 9. Flying. I wish I could, but 9/11 screwed me up in that regard. My first flight into LaGuardia after had me freaking out when we were approaching the city. Haven't flown yet. I'd only fly now if it's a pontoon plane with a route strictly over the water, or if Sully Sullenberger is my pilot. Story 10. Getting my blood drawn at the hospital or clinic. I wouldn't avoid it, but if I made an appointment a week in advance, I would spend the next 7 days consumed by anxiety. The waiting is the worst part, and I can't bear to look away either. I have to watch the needle go in. Story 11. My wife leaving me. I don't think it will happen, nor is there even the slightest indication that she ever would, but the possibility does occur to me and it would be devastating. Story 12. Being sick to my stomach. It hasn't happened in decades, and I'm convinced I've forgotten how and will end up choking and dead. Answer, don't worry about choking. Vomiting is an automatic process. Just don't breathe in too quick when it's over. Maybe cough a couple times if you're really worried. Story 13. I can rationalize what I do against sharks or a large human attacker, or if a plane started to falter, etc., but the thought of being super high up and out on the edge of a skyscraper or cliff, woof, scares me to death. Story 14. I have a lot of fears. Fear of heights, of falling, the dark, and moths. I manage just fine with these fears and often challenge myself to face them. But my biggest fear is losing my husband. I love him more than I ever thought possible, and every day I wake up to trying to be the best wife I can be for him. He is incredible and often reassures me that he loves me and that he won't ever leave. We met in 2018 and got married that same year. Even though we were 5 years apart with occasional visits, he still stuck by my side, so I have no reason to be so scared, but I can't shake it as I never feel like I'm good enough. He tried to tell me I am, but every day, I worry he will find someone else that is more deserving of his love or that something will happen to him. It terrifies me to the point I get depressed with crippling anxiety, but I keep getting out of bed every day because I want to make him happy and try to make life as simple as I can for him. He knows I'm scared, but I don't think he realizes how bad it is, and that isn't just an occasional feeling. Story 15. Getting into car accidents, I was in 2. First one happened when I was, I believe, 13, and the other when I was 15. I'm pretty sure the one that happened when I was 13 is what caused the fear. The first car accident was bad. Luckily, no one was injured, but both cars were totaled. We had to get a new car afterwards because our old car was just scrap metal at that point. Answer. I remember a kind police officer let us sit in her car while we waited for my aunt and uncle to pick us up. I was extremely grateful. BC, it was getting close to winter, and I had the bright idea to wear a thin, long-sleeve shirt with no layers. I live in the U.S., specifically in the West Coast. We didn't get a lot of snow during winter, but we do get a lot of rain, and the temperature was usually in the 40s, 50s Fahrenheit. But now, because of climate change, my state gets a really bad snowstorm almost every year. In fact, there are already predictions for a snowstorm this year. Answer. But in all honesty, I'm not really believing the predictions because weather is pretty unpredictable in my state. The weather app on my phone has gotten predictions wrong before. So I've started using the weather app my uncle's company uses, WeatherBug, and so far it hasn't gotten predictions wrong. I also measures air quality, which is good. BC. My state has really bad wildfires every summer. In some areas, the smoke was so bad the sky is blood red. It looks kind of cool. How much pollen is in the air and many other cool features. Note, I haven't been asked to promote the app, I just think it's a good resource. Story 16. Either jumping from somewhere high like cliff diving or bungee jumping or deep sea diving. Or even worse, diving with no oxygen tank. But I don't like to say I wouldn't do these things no matter what. Instead, it's only if my life, someone else's life, depended on it. Because realistically, if someone told me, you have to do this thing, or else you or someone else will die, falling from the sky for 30 seconds doesn't seem like such a bad outcome, lol. Story 17. Sharks. I watched Jaws as a kid and hated it. I only paddle at beaches and don't like being on boats. My grown-up brain tells me the odds of being eaten by a shark are near 0. My animal brain says, fuck that. You're just unlucky enough to have it happen. Story 18. Darkness. I barely sleep, eat, or drink even, and when it's piss time, it's darker than an empty universe. I feel like a monster will crawl out from under the bathtub and rip out my organs. I hurt myself. Don't ask. Story 19. Spiders. One must have killed me in another life. I'm beyond fucking petrified of the big ones. Small ones are fine, but the big ones. My neighbors have found me passed out or hyperventilating on the front lawn from the fear of finding one of those big ones in the house before now. Story 20. My fear of rodents. I just can't bring myself to say the name of the animal. Those same as the ones in Ratatouille. Even the small ones, I just can't bear it. I instantly freeze when I see one from afar. Then I'd change my way. It hurts more because my parents don't care about it. They are most concerned about getting rid of my fear. I just can't. Story 21. Used to think I was terrified of needles. Took me till my mid-30s to realize I'm actually freaked by substances that enter my bloodstream. Just assumed it was needles since that's the most usual way I'd faint from. Cigarette smoke or nasal sprays also make me react. I know I should be able to control this, but I can't. Something in my brain has greater control with this. I hate not having control over my own body, plus this is such an oddly specific thing. Hate it. Story 22. Fear of oceans. The thought of the ship I'm on suddenly failing or sinking and being stranded surrounded by water and gigantic sea creatures is kind of haunting to me, even though I only got on a ship a couple of times. This might be laughable, but sometimes while showering when my eyes are closed, the picture of deep oceans come to mind and I get scared for no reason quickly opening my eyes. It's a fear for sure. Story 23. Elevators. Most of the time I've learned to deal with it. My parents live on the 15th floor of an apartment building, so I can't avoid them. But I'm uncomfortable in them. If it takes a split second longer to move or to open the door, I panic. There's been times where I thought the elevators weren't working properly, refused to get in them, and instead sat in my car having a panic attack. Story 24. Snails. Millipedes. They just make me shiver, and I can't stand even being near one. I'm constantly checking every room I go into in my home to make sure there isn't one in there. If there is, I try my best to avoid it while always keeping an eye on it, lol. I live in an area with lots of millipedes and snails. Story 25. Dead things. I know they can't hurt me, so I think I'm scared of the germs. Bugs, animals, even humans. I won't touch them or touch the spot they died. A bug died close to my workstation, and I awkwardly maneuver myself away from that spot, even if it's convenient to just walk over where the bug died, even though the bug has been vacuumed up. I don't know what the phobia is called. If I knew what the phobia was called, I could somehow get better. Story 26. I'm a Michigander, and deep water terrifies the living hell out of me. If I can't see the bottom, I can't deal with it. The great thing about getting older is that I'm not forced to go kayaking or boating on the Great Lakes with my parents anymore. CK that. Story 27. Being around strange men in general, being followed when walking at night, being in small enclosed spaces with them, or being drugged at a party. All situations I can't exactly fully control, and where my safety is at risk just for a woman. Story 28. Babysitter took me to a drive-in theater to see Jaws when I was 4 or 5 years old. She put me on the hood of the car while she hung out with her boyfriend inside the car. I still can never swim in the ocean without having some fear. I've surfed, was a junior lifeguard, etc., but there's always some fear in the back of my mind which really sucks the joy out of the ocean for me. Story 29. Any kind of surgery without numbing anesthesia. I had to get an ingrown toenail removed. They use 5x as much lidocaine as was meant to be used and still hurt like shit. I am terrible with pain, and I can never understand how people like my grandmother willingly goes to the dentist and gets a cavity out without any numbing. I could never deal with that much pain. Story 30. Spiders. Tried to move a daddy long legs and nearly screamed when he came close to my hand. Tried to move a huntsman with a glove. Chickened out. Mom had to move a spider outside on some paper when I screamed when she tried to get me near it to take outside myself. Yep, nope. Can't do it, sorry. No matter how small or harmless. Story 31. Roaches. I do not know why, but those things scare the shit out of me. I will pick up and hold a spider. I have let a centipede crawl on me. I even used to collect bugs when I was young. Not roaches, though. I don't want one of those bastards within a mile of. Story 32. When I was younger, someone tried to break into my house through my sliding glass basement door. All I remember is my dad telling my mom and I to hide in the main bathroom. There was also another instance of someone trying to break in through my bedroom window, which I remember more vividly. I've had a fear of that sliding glass door for as long as I can remember, and even have nightmares about it. Anytime I hear a noise below my window, I think it's someone trying to break in. I don't like walking past ground floor windows at night, and if I see a shadow in a window, I won't open it even if it's the middle of the day.